What's up, Middle-earth? With raids and instances and dungeons being released in the last update, we're back to some good hard instance content. A lot of players don't know how to get ready for T2, T3. So this guide's here for newer players and players that don't exactly know how to gear up and get ready for harder content in Lord of the Rings Online. First things first, we gotta look at virtues. Now, as a newer player, you can start thinking about this from level 1. Basically, there are so many ways to get virtue experience. At Endgame, we are definitely predominantly looking at your mission givers or your delving givers. Now they give us 2 nice weekly missions of 15 missions and 45 missions. A lot of people might consider just doing 15 a week, and then what that means is every 3rd week you will complete this one automatically because you will refresh this week on week. Or if you want to and you want to really grind that virtue experience and embers as quickly as possible, what you want to do is you want to try do all 45 in a week. Now there are a lot of mission giver and delving areas. You can go to Before the Shadows, you can go to some of the dwarven and elven areas of some of the previous expansions, or you can go into Umbar and do them there. I highly recommend doing this as soon as your hero is able to do these missions. Even if you're like level 15, go and do your missions. And what you do is when you get these boxes over here at the bottom, you can get things like the character boost box, which is usually the one I'll go for. I'll trade them over to whatever character I want to gear up as quickly as possible, because when you open that, it will scale to their level. So even if you've done this on one of your other alts, like a level 15 or level 20, you can send it over to your main. When you open it, you'll get an Essence Rec Scroll, you will get Reputation Tomes, and you will get more virtue experience, which is really great in helping you cap your virtues. Virtues is a really neat system in Lord of the Rings Online, which basically allows you to scale up some free stats. You can have 5 virtues active per a trait, and you can switch them so that per each trait, they are ready to go. I highly recommend focusing on it at least 5. At current endgame cap, they're going up to 90, but that probably will change in time. And also, don't forget that you do get passives from some of the virtues that you have not traded. So just because you've finished up doesn't mean, okay, I've got the 5 I need, doesn't matter, I'm just going to go focus on other characters. There's a massive incentive to carry on grinding these out, because that passive damage and morale can be quite substantial if you do play higher tier content. Now let's go over the ways you can get virtue experience. Obviously, doing your weekly missions is a really good way to get, because you get base virtue experience on the character you do it on, and then on top of that, you can choose the character boost box, which will give you extra virtue experience. Remember, you can trade this over. So in Lord of the Rings Online, a lot of times what you find is that your ults can help gear your main quicker, and then what you can do is then afterwards gear your second, and so on and so forth. So you tend to gear a lot quicker when you do have ults. Then another way to do it is to do landscape open world deeds. Now what these means is when you do these deeds, you will eventually get to the point where not only are you getting LOTRO points, so it's premium store currency points that you can use to buy things, but you're also getting virtue experience. Now maybe what you want to do is hold off from completing these until your virtue cap goes up. And what I mean by this is if you are leveling, you'll get to the point, say, where your virtue max is level 30. You can't go above this because your actual level is too low and you can't have too much stats compared to your level. But then when you level up, say, to like level 31, your virtue cap goes up, and then it will allow you to go higher and higher. To focus on the 5 that you want to do is the most important, because you will get all the bonuses from these. But the passives are still really good, so don't knock on that too quickly. So yes, doing open world landscape deeds to try get as much virtue experience as possible is also another really solid way to do it. Now another way to do it is to open your daily Hobbit gifts. What these do is they will give you virtue experience and then obviously some other random item. So in this case, I got 150 virtue experience. That's not much, but you know, after a couple of days, it will build up and it will kind of add something to it. Now I'm going to touch on 2 very pay-to-win ways to get virtue experience. Now obviously we don't want to go too crazy on pay-to-win, but I do need to mention them for those who love to swipe. First of all, you get virtue acceleration tomes. What these do is they'll basically go into your virtue log, and this will allow you to just gain more virtue experience when gaining virtue. So when you gain something like this 2000 here, I believe it will give you another 50%. I'm not 100% sure on that, so you will get 3000 instead, but it will deplete this tome. So this tome over here will get depleted up. So in this case, if I get 4000 virtue experience, I'll gain this extra 2000 because of the tome, and this will be used up. Then the super pay to win way to get it. I do not know if this has changed, but it used to be a thing, so I'm assuming it still is a thing. And that is when you Valara tune, which is basically your instant level boost, you will get beautiful things like legendary item things, armor, all of these sorts of things to help you basically start your adventure. But one of the things you would get is an item called Virtues of the Valar, and when you complete this quest, you will receive a whole bunch of virtue experience tomes. When you consume these, you'll get, I don't know, it was like 20 or 40k. You'll obviously know if you've Valara tune in the last while, but a lot of these were bound to account. So what you could do is basically Valara character. Say you wanted to play a captain as your off character, but you wanted to support your main, you could Valar the captain, use a few virtue XPs on him, and then trade the rest over to your main to try and cap up. And those would help a lot of players with especially the passives for damage and health. A lot of people were sending them over to their mains and basically just being capped virtues completely. Now, which virtues are the best is up for debate. A lot of times in the past, it used to basically be as many mitigations and survival as possible, but now because of the changes to main stats, a lot of other things are becoming much better and much more viable. Now that you've got all those amazing free stats through your virtues, you're thinking, well, how else can I gear up? Well, the way to gear up number 2 is your legendary item. So at level 45, 50 or so, you will do a quest that will allow you to get your first legendary item. These are extremely important. If you want to step into tier 2, tier 3, you're definitely going to want to make sure that these are as ready and geared up as possible. Now, obviously, don't judge me too hard. My legendary items are not super great, but you want to try and get as many gold pieces as possible and as many teal as possible. Teal is not too far off of gold, although there is a few situations where obviously gold is a lot better than teal, especially when it comes to things like crit chance or induction reduction, as having extra crit chance is massive for DPS, even for healing. So trying to make sure that you can get gold wherever possible is great, but teal is very good. Now, there are many ways to actually get the enhancements required to level up your legendary item. A lot of them being also the weekly quest from the quest givers give a few, some of the dungeons and FI give a few, and these are a lot of the ways you're going to want to try and get these enhancement runes so that you can try level up each mastery of your legendary item to try go as high as possible. Currently the cap is 515, but there is talk of it going up to 520 in the near future, so obviously save as many of your enhancements as possible to make sure you're ready for that. Now, obviously you want to prioritize things that are going to boost your DPS as much as possible. In my case, probably crit would probably be my most valuable trait. So I'll try gold up and obviously max out my crit sooner, and then probably mastery and afterwards finesse. But as you play different classes, you'll get a feel for what's providing you the highest DPS output. I would also highly recommend seeking advice on a lot of these things. There's a lot of really good players who can tell you straight away what kind of word of masteries you should be putting inside your equipment to try get the best DPS or survivability yields. Now, I might hear you saying, okay, that's all well and good, but I can't get into, dungeon groups yet. People aren't taking me because they say that I'm not ready, my gear's not good enough. Well, Lord of the Rings Online has helped a lot of players with their legendary reward track. So if you push Shift I, you'll bring up your legendary reward track. Now, this is on for a certain amount of months. Currently left on this track is 2 months and 1 day. As you level through this track, you will get a lot of really good things. You'll get enhancement runes, you'll get rare legacies. Very importantly, you'll get other things like you'll get some teal legacies and even some legendaries. You'll also get some embers, things like this. So there is a lot of utility from finishing this track. To level up your reward track, basically anything that gives legendary experience will help you level up this reward track. So any questing, any mob kills, doing things like this will help you get this really quick. If you do get any old heritage tomes, those will also help you level up this. Now, it does slow down the higher you go into this, but once you get to the end, you start getting some really nice rewards. Once you've finished the reward track itself, it will basically become a repeatable unknown item. So as you accept them, they could be completely nothing burgers and just give you, 50 ancient scripts, or they could be things like gold legendary traceries, which is absolutely brilliant, and that's what you want to get. You can always trade these from character to character. So if for some reason you're like, well, this character sorts it out and I've open this box, you can just mail it over to another character and open it on that. Other good items to item for are obviously your recipe boxes for your heraldries and your words of craft. Being able to get these, especially in gold, is a massive DPS increase because of the stats and just the overall utility you can get from that. And also some of the words of crafts, a lot of people do enjoy the induction reduction as well as the tactical crit multipliers, things like this really do add a lot to your build. So in essence, just by playing the game, you're going to be getting your legendary items sorted through the legendary reward track, as well as just from doing things like your missions, your dungeons, your FIs, things like this. Having fun playing the game is gearing you, which is a brilliant thing. Honestly, it's probably one of the best decisions Lord of the Rings Online has made in terms of the gearing process. Now, the third way to prepare for dungeons is actually quite a tough one, and that is gear itself. Obviously, the better your gear, the higher and more likely people are going to want to take you on runs. Now, there are a few ways to gear up at the moment. Crafting is actually fairly good for the initial. Now, obviously, you need to be gilded to make really good stuff, but even some of these single-use recipes are not horrible. They will take you into a lot of groups if you just kind of look fairly decently geared. If you can get high enough rank in Umber, you can get some really nice rings just from doing this. And remember, you can feed all of the reputation items from other characters doing your daily and weekly missions to your main so that you can get these quicker. Doing your daily featured instance per character is also a really good way to get this. It drops not just enhancement runes and other very nice things, it also has a chance to drop some really nice teal gear, which is definitely very good pre the new instance and raid content. Now, there might be several other ways to gear that I'm missing out on, but those are pretty much some of the main and quickest and easiest ways to get there. And once you're there, then just go into the instances. Start your way on tier 1, go up to tier 2, and then hit tier 3 as soon as possible. You're going to pick up some really nice upgrades really quickly. In the new content, you do get these 3-piece set bonus gear, which do have a bit not great stats, but the item level and the passives you will get from them are fairly good. And then obviously you have the chance for some really nice teal gear. Then once you hop into the raid, you have chance for even better set bonus gear and better set bonus teal gear. So in essence, you don't want to pre-gear before instances too much. Just craft some really nice gear with the single-use recipes, maybe do a couple of FIs, hope for a few drops, and then just get into the new content. You're going to gear up so quickly. So let's just summarize. Virtues, absolutely amazing. You can start thinking about them from level 1 all the way up to end cap. You can use your ult to help farm delve-ins and missions to send over to your main to boost up their virtues. You're going to be getting your 5 main virtues capped up nice and quickly and a ton of passive bonus, survivability, and also mastery from the passives on the virtues. You're going to be getting your legendary items geared up, especially through the legendary reward track. Even while just doing your missions and just playing the game in general, you're going to be getting levels on your reward track, and that's going to help you boost up your legendary items even quicker. And then when the newer, harder raid content comes out, you're going to be super well geared because you would have been farming the tier 1s, tier 2s, and tier 3s of all this content, doing the raid on tier 1, and getting all this really awesome set bonus gear going. Don't forget to also, if you have ult, bring them through the content. Once you've got your main up to a point where you're fairly happy with, start using your main to feed gear and things to your ult to bring up your seconds and your thirds. Remember, Lord of the Rings Online, even though it's really awesome to focus, say, on 1 or 2 main characters, using ults is a brilliant way to feed into your other characters and help them grow even quicker. And that's it for this video. I really hope it helped. Remember, playing MMOs is supposed to be fun. If you don't want to do dungeon content and raid content, don't do it. Play the game, enjoy it the way you want to do it. But I really hope this just helped you gear up and even just thought about how to gear up a little bit better. Anyway, if you did enjoy the video, please give it a like and a subscribe. Really helps the channel grow. And if you didn't enjoy the video, thank you so much for watching anyway. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.